The Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. On this week's program, a conversation with Kansas U.S. Senator Jerry Moran as he is back in the state for the August break. Also have updates from Kansas Soybean Commission, the Kansas Department of Agriculture, and Kansas Grain Sorghum, plus the weekly update from the Kansas Livestock Association and market information from Pinion.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919, kfb.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat, online at kswheat.com.
Agricultural news, the Kansas City Federal Reserve says financial conditions in its district remained solid for the second quarter. Survey respondents, though, say signs of slow growth likely in the months ahead. Farm real estate values grew rapidly in the recent quarters, but those valuations moderated in the second quarter alongside recent drops in agricultural commodity prices. Farm income remaining stronger than last year, but an increase in interest rates, drought, higher input costs, and some of the pullback in commodity prices likely contributed to a slightly less optimistic outlook to the farm economy than, say, the previous quarter. Now, this year's outlook remains positive. Lenders reporting growing concerns coming up for 2023. And a larger share of lenders reported significant increases in production expenses for producers compared to 2021. Severe drought reducing hay and forage for livestock and also contributing to some of those higher feed costs. And despite concerns, repayment problems have dropped to their lowest levels in some 7 years. Well, U.S. beef producers facing higher input costs this year, predicted up to 7% compared to 2021. USDA's Economic Research Service reported this week that the farmers' share of the retail value of beef also increased year over year, but rising input costs, especially that for cattle feed, may limit the farmers' ability to benefit from those higher cattle prices. Feed expenses are at their largest operating cost of a cow-calf producer, compromising some 75% of those costs that were taking place in 2021. Prices for beef cattle feed up 16% in May of this year compared to a year ago. High fertilizer prices also contributing to increased food costs, while the drought conditions also squeezing feed, grain, and hay supplies. The 21-22 season average farm price for corn, which is the primary grain fed to cattle, currently projected at $5.95 a bushel. That's the highest since the 2012-2013 marketing year. Other feed grains like sorghum, oats, and barley are protected and also projected to increase in 21-22 relative to what we saw in the marketing year of 2020 and 2021. We come back, U.S. Senator Jerry Moran. We caught up with him in Phillipsburg a few days ago. Back with more in just a moment.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com.
And our special guest is U.S. Senator Jerry Moran. Senator, great to have you here.
Ken, I'm glad to be back with you, and I'm glad to be in Kansas, away from Washington, D.C. A long weekend, last weekend, of votes in the United States Senate, unfortunately setting the stage for the House to be able to pass a piece of legislation that I think is pretty damaging to the country and specifically damaging to agriculture and our folks in Kansas.
Well, the August break is upon, and at the time we're taping this, the House has yet to vote on the bill that was passed in the Senate. It's a massive, massive spending bill. We've just been through 2 years of this. Is it election year politics, or where are we going to come up with all this money?
Ken, when I say this is damaging to Kansans, it's the reason it's most damaging is it's spending money, borrowing money, raising taxes. Our economy is pretty fragile when it comes particularly to inflation, people's ability to pay the bills. Does anybody think that the federal government spending more money is going to do anything to help reduce the cost of living? No, it's going to go up more. And it does things that's damaging particularly to energy. It's focused on climate change. We need policies in this country that encourage all forms of energy, but including fossil fuels. We need to be energy independent, and we ought to be drilling and producing. Do the things that increase the supply, not reduce the supply, so that it's less expensive at the pump. And while I say pump, the cost of oil affects almost every product that we buy. And certainly when it comes to agriculture, diesel prices, diesel fuel prices, natural gas for irrigation, and certainly fertilizer prices are all impacted by the cost of energy. And again, this is going to be damaging to that circumstance, not improving it.
How does that help Kansas farmers, because we're now days away from getting ready to put the wheat crop in for next year? Still high fertilizer prices, high fuel prices, high seed prices. We don't know what our markets are going to be. This is a level of uncertainty, plus inflation, as farmers are going to get those notes hopefully renewed.
Well, certainly farmers and ranchers face a lot of uncertainty always, but it's made worse by this. But I would add the issue there that is so important is the cost of borrowing money. Our agriculture producers have the necessity of borrowing money. Cash flow is not always what it needs to be at a particular time during the seasons. And as interest rates continue to go up, it makes it even more difficult to get through that bottom line for farmers across Kansas and the country.
We're talking with Senator Jerry Moran. Let's take a break. Come back. There's a whole lot more issues we want to talk with him about. We'll do that in just a moment.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future at kansascorn.com.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
And our special guest is U.S. Senator Jerry Moran. A big event going on that, if it all comes to fruition, the largest wheat gluten plant will be right here in the heart of the wheat belt in north central Kansas.
Ken, I congratulate you and this community. You've worked hard, first of all, to have an ethanol plant built here and a wheat protein plant, of which then ethanol becomes a byproduct. And that wheat gluten is going to mean up to 10% of the wheat grown in Kansas is going to be processed here at this plant. All my life in agriculture, we've been looking for more opportunities to gain more revenue from producing wheat. And here's something that seems like it's going to be very beneficial in that regard. And it is located here where wheat is king. You and I toured that plant a few months back. We saw construction. Now we're seeing a ribbon cutting.
It is great news really for all of Kansas. Before we let you go, we do want to talk about the Environmental Protection Agency, Administrator Regan, and some things that we're all kind of scratching our heads, especially when it comes to atrazine and opening up something we thought was settled that could have huge impacts not only for agriculture producers, but what it would do is possibly turn us back to tillage. How does this help in some of this green agriculture they want to see done?
You know, there's a balance, as we know, in everything in life. And if you focus on atrazine, you may be seemingly you're damaging the benefits that come from no-till. So chemicals help us it's a similar issue to burning in the Flint Hills. There are those who want to worry only about air quality, but then there's those who also worry about wildlife habitat, grazing capabilities, the production of food. We need to find the right balance, and we have an Environmental Protection Agency that is headed in a direction that we need sound science and common sense, and that's hard to find when it comes to most environmental agencies.
All right, well, enjoy. I'm sure you'll be touring the state of Kansas during this August break.
I'll be in your district throughout the next couple of days and across Kansas for the next couple of weeks.
Very good. U.S. Senator Jerry Moran has joined us.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn. For livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population, the farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn, with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
You may or may not already be thinking about soybean harvest, but it's not too early to make plans to enter the 2022 Kansas Soybean Yield and Value Contests. All soybean farmers or individuals involved in farming operations are invited to enter these contests, where you could earn recognition or more. Aside from recognition for high-yielding soybeans, participants are eligible for monetary awards. The Kansas Soybean Commission sponsors a prize for the top 3 finishers in each district, as well as an additional $1,000 for the overall dryland and irrigated winners and any who top the current record. The amounts per district are that first place receives $300, second will earn $200, and third will receive $100. Districts are determined by region, tillage method, and irrigation status, with a total of 18 districts in consideration. No-till on the plains supplies additional awards in the no-till categories. The statewide Kansas Soybean Value Contest that analyzes protein, oil, and other soybean qualities is also open for entries. Entrants submit 20-ounce samples which are evaluated by Ag Processing Inc. to determine the value. Monetary awards are also given to the top 3 highest value entries. Farmers may enter both the yield and value contests. New to the 2022 yield and value contests, the Kansas Soybean Association will sponsor 3 participants to attend Commodity Classic in March 2023. First place in both contests, as well as 1 randomly drawn participant, earn the trip. All participants get a free t-shirt. Interested individuals are invited to check out www.kansassoybeans.org/contest to find the details and start making plans to enter. Online or mailed entries are accepted. The results are to be announced January 11, 2023 at the Kansas Soybean Expo in Topeka.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
2 years ago, the Kansas Department of Agriculture began a new program to help us shine a spotlight on those in the agriculture community who go above and beyond to serve others and the industry, and we call it Kansas Ag Heroes. Once again this year, we received some wonderful nominations, and we selected several standouts and recognized them during the Ag Growth Summit on August 18th. Those selected for special honors included Doug Kiesling, a fifth-generation farmer from Chase who's been active promoting trade and goodwill by traveling internationally and serving on several national boards. Donna Pearson McClish started Common Ground, a mobile farmers market in Wichita that expanded to now serve 4 counties to feed underserved Kansans. Troy Strickler in Caney owns 3 agribusinesses and through them helps farmers and ranchers in his community in many ways. And Daniel Rockholtz and Mike Bergmeyer have gotten to know several Ukrainian agriculture representatives through their trade teams and have collected supplies and raised funds to help those ag friends who are now fighting to defend their country. Finally, the Kansas Ag Heroes program took time to recognize the many people and organizations who came together to help with the wildfires last December. The firefighters and first responders, the veterinarians, the local and state leaders who coordinated response and recovery efforts, the churches and organizations that fed workers and displaced neighbors, and the many donors who gave money, hay, equipment, water, and other needed supplies, both in the immediate response and in the long recovery effort. The outpouring of support was a wonderful example of what it means to be Kansas Ag Heroes. You can see more about the 2022 Kansas Ag Heroes, including other nominees, on our website at agriculture.ks.gov/summit. KD appreciates all those who submitted nominations, and we are especially thankful for these Kansas Ag Heroes and the thousands more we know stepped up to serve this year.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
I guess I've always been involved in farming, grew up on the farm, and it's just something that I've always wanted to do.
I farm is something that as a kid, a child, I grew up with. I think for the smaller communities out here in Kansas, it's very important. It's basically the driving force that keeps a lot of the small communities alive.
Well, why I farm is it's in my blood. I'm the 4th generation to be right here on this farm. Probably ever since I started farming, I've grown grain sorghum. There's nothing like the hands-on experience that you get from doing it.
I try everything I can to work sorghum into the rotation. Sorghum is vital to the economy because every bushel we raise out here that is delivered to a local elevator, to local terminal, that money is allowing producers to reinvest that money here, help grow our economies, help grow our small communities. support the local co-ops, the local agronomy suppliers.
Farming and being an ag producer is the ability to help feed our populations, but also develop new ways to enhance soil health and make sure that the farm is passed on from generation to generation for years to come.
We need good young people that are out here farming. There's some really good young guys out here, really excited when they get involved with both their community organizations, but also get on some statewide organizations. I think these commissions set the standard for what will happen with the industry, with markets, with expanding new markets to use our grains.
Everybody on the board is a sorghum producer. You have to be actively growing the crop. Everybody is involved and wants the best for their money.
It's amazing what they get done with what they have. I've been totally impressed with the commission.
You get to see where a lot of your checkoff dollars go and the reason behind that, and you have the opportunity to have input in that process.
It'd have been 07, 08, 09, and I'd go to seed dealers, seed companies, and be like, what have you had in research in sorghum? And their answers were nothing. I saw that as a huge issue in the fact of sorghum is a good crop for our area, to really get down and figure out what our priorities are and really where we want to invest and where we want to focus our research dollars to help promote sorghum and help advance technology with the crop.
We know that what we do here makes a difference in a lot of lives all over the world.
It's just vital for the economy in general that it allows us to move dollars through here and bring money from outside of Kansas into the state and help continue to be an economic driver. It's just vitally important that we continue to rely on the grain production and things to help be that economic driver for these small communities. My name is Stephen Biggie and I farm in north central Kansas in Rooks County.
Kevin Kniebel. I farm not too far from Manhattan, Kansas to the south.
I'm Kevin Harris.
Mike Rosebrook.
Nathan Larson.
Clark Bibb, I'm an at-large member of the Kansas Grain Sorghum Commission.
And I'm serving on the Kansas Grain Sorghum Commission Board. You're in God's creation out here, and we get to work in it every day. The miracles of putting seed in the ground and producing abundantly is just, I can't top it. It's not just an occupation, it's not just a job, but it's just a tremendous way of life.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Imagine turning soybean oil, used cooking oils, and waste animal fats into fuel so amazing it drives U.S. jobs and our economy forward. Learn more about biodiesel at americasadvancedbiofuel.com.
The Sand County Foundation, in partnership with Ranchland Trust of Kansas and the Kansas Association of Conservation Districts, has announced 4 finalists for the Kansas Leopold Conservation Award. Given in honor of renowned conservationist Aldo Leopold, the $10,000 award recognizes those who inspire others with their dedication to the land, water, and wildlife resources in their care. This year's finalists are Ray and Susan Flickner of Wichita, the Kevin Carr family of Emporia, Michael Thompson of Almena, and Glenn and Barbara Walker of Brookville. The Flickner family installed subsurface drip irrigation technology to become more efficient with water. Their innovation farm is a collaboration of partners where new methods to improve soil health and conserve water are demonstrated. The Carr family uses no-till practices and have enhanced wildlife habitat and reduced fuel use while building a better soil structure. The combination of no-till and cover crops have bolstered the farm's ability to recover from drought. Thompson uses rotational grazing to improve the landscape of native range pastures and fields of cover crops. He is a vocal advocate for soil stewardship among other farmers and ranchers via speaking engagements, social media, and youth programs. The Walkers use rotational grazing and manage grassland to improve habitat for the greater prairie chicken, turkey, and deer populations. Additionally, their investment in the removal of invasive red cedars has improved water resources on their pasture land. The 2022 Kansas Leopold Conservation Award will be presented in November at the Kansas Association of Conservation Districts Convention in Wichita.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Good morning, I'm Darren Banbacter with Pinion Risk Management. Corn and beans remain extremely volatile. The August WASDE report dropped trendline yield for corn along with domestic and world carryouts. They increased the bean yield and production along with domestic and world carryouts. The wheat numbers as a whole landed safely in the expected ranges and remain consolidated on the charts. In my opinion, the report was pretty tame, but if I were to pick a topic of concern, it would be the lack of export demand. Looking to the weather, some much needed rains were confirmed early this week, and the forecast has shifted to cooler and a little wetter for the second half of August. In economic news, many believe inflation could have peaked here in the States, but we still remain at very elevated levels. Looking to the calendar and charts over the last several years, the next 30 to 45 days for corn and beans have shown a tendency to trend lower. Several factors are at play as September contracts roll to November and harvest pressure picks up. Weather will still be the wild card as beans try to fill and later planted corn looks to finish out. Technically, corn and beans broke their uptrend line that began on July 22nd, opening the potential for additional downside risk. If you have questions about the markets or some specific questions about your operation, give us a call at 888-452-8751. I'm Darren Banbacter. Be safe and have a great week.
That's our show this week. Be social with us online, kansasagreport.net, or on our social media channels. I'm Ken Rogers. Hey, school's getting back in session. Going to be a few new drivers out on the road. Take extra caution. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk with you and see you next week.
Are you looking for Medicare supplement insurance plans? Now is a good time to look at your options with Kansas Farm Bureau Health Plans. A Medicare supplement insurance plan can help cover certain out-of-pocket expenses Medicare doesn't cover. Things like deductibles, co-insurance, and certain limitations that can be costly in the event of an accident or illness. With Kansas Farm Bureau Health Plans, you have options to Medicare supplement insurance plans with 4 levels of affordable coverage and service from an organization known for its commitment serving Kansans. We encourage you to compare our rates. For more information and to get a quote, contact a Farm Bureau Financial Services agent near you or visit kfbhealthplans.com. Medicare supplements insured by Members Health Insurance Company, Columbia, Tennessee. Not connected with or endorsed by the U.S. or state government.